to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Smooth opening. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Wednesday. Pat, my friend, how are you?
Fine. First off, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You look good.
Okay, because we had literally 2 minutes before the show was going to start, my computer froze up and is not restarting. So here I am on my phone for the whole show.
It's gonna it's gonna be quite a show. I'm excited to be here as always, but I'm leaving tomorrow. I've not been able to get into my bathroom until like midnight last night when I finally told this lovely man that I was like, "You're done. I don't care. We're done." Kicked him out. I cleaned till 3, covered and everything, then realized he had to come back today. Pat and I were doing our show. I'm leaving tomorrow to go visit my older son in Barcelona. I can't wait. I haven't seen him in 3 months with Josh and Xander. So it's like a whirlwind. I was all frenetic. Pat was super calm all day. He's like, "Don't worry, it's all fine." And then his computer crashed right before we went on. So I did the intro.
I nailed it, I assume. I wasn't watching because I was in the other room trying to get ready.
I saw you jump in just when. But we're gonna go with it because there's a lot going on that we want to talk about.
Yeah. So thank you for being executive producer, aide, assistant, all of it.
I'm wearing all the hats today, and you get to just like impart your wisdom while I push the button.
Then since I'm on my couch, I'm gonna just put my feet up. Let's do it.
Okay. So the only issue we have is I'm a little concerned with sharing the wheel because I have to do all of it and I'm only able to share one screen at a time. So I can get rid of one and add the other. I'm going to try that and see. But yeah.
If that doesn't work, we'll just make the beep bop bloop sounds and then pick one.
You know what? I would love to just go through. Yeah, well, let's just do. We're gonna call the audibles on the shots and just go through all of our subjects. How do we like that? It's going to be a little bit lower tech show today.
I don't care at all. I got my warm beer here.
Saying hi to everybody, Jesco and Tech and Kimmy and Deborah and Stephanie, the runs, Arif, Adria. Can you see everybody? I don't even know what you see when you're on your phone.
I was just checking to see if I can. I can see the comments if I don't watch our screen.
All right. I'll let you know. This is a whole different way of doing a show today. We're going to try and get this together. Stray Goose. We've got Derek. ACAB includes ICE and Border Patrol. Sure as hell does. Saul. I can't remember if I already said Jesco, Derek, Dave. Just wanted to say hi to Ray so Pat knows you guys are here. And Kimmy, Cheers. Thank you for your positivity. I don't want you to place any bets on that, but I'm gonna plow ahead. Jera and Daniel, and all right. I think I've mentioned everybody who's written so far. Thank you for coming. Pat, how was your week?
Well, so I should have known I was cursed today because my day started waking up. I fell asleep on the couch watching TV in a warm bath of my cat's pee. So that's always fun.
That cat is so lucky that you've got a good heart.
Oh, I mean, she's been chill on that. Like she hasn't peed in the wrong place in like at least a month. And then today I wake up and I'm like, what the hell is this? So there's that. And then I go to the store and get beer and it's warm beer. I forgot to put it in the freezer. So I'm drinking sort of lukewarm beer here. And then the computer crash.
So it's a trifecta. I feel like that means you've got all of that out of the way and starting tomorrow or starting right now. It's like good juju.
Yeah, 2023, the year of good juju. It's
I
all working
mean,
out perfectly.
I would say it couldn't get much worse, and yet every time I think that, somehow we manage. So, yeah,
Yeah.
the warm pea is even worse than the warm beer, I think.
They're very much related, it seems.
Yeah, when you told me you were drinking warm beer, I told you I was going to tell a story about high school, and then all of a sudden everything crashed. But I did just want because I feel like this was a brilliant hack that I had, so I just want to tell everybody about how smart I was when I was 15. We would
Right.
go. It what? Did you freeze?
No, I'm here. I'm listening.
Oh, you're making me
Sorry.
nervous.
Oh no,
Um,
I'm just trying to switch to my Bluetooth headphones if that's possible, but I'll
all right,
yeah,
don't get too technical because it's StreamYard can't handle
I know.
it. um, we would go into a supermarket. We would get a 12-pack of Coke, which did not used to be sealed. It just used to have a flap in that nice long cardboard container, and fill up our whole grocery cart. And then we would go get a 12-pack of beer, also in a nice long cardboard container. And you'd have to look for all of the different cameras and different aisles. We would like slowly undo each of the flaps of those two 12-packs, roll out all the Cokes. Oh, he disappeared. Roll out all the beers. I knew that flipping over to the Bluetooth wasn't going to work well. Roll out of the Cokes, roll out of the beers, like underneath the bags of chips and everything, put all of the beers. He's back. Put,
Oh,
don't
okay,
touch anything. Just don't
that
touch
was
anything.
that was a fascinating story, Lila. Tell me more.
Roll
I'm
out.
not going to try that again. We're good.
Don't touch anything.
Nope.
Sit on your hands.
Yep.
Roll out all the beers, roll out all the Cokes, and underneath the chips and avoiding the cameras, put all of the Coke cans into the beer container and all the Coke cans, all the beer into the Coke container. And then it would be like an hour. We would stupidly, this was the last time I ever did it. It was a small market. It was almost closing time. And then after being there an hour, only tried to walk out and pay just with our 12-pack of Coke and a bag of chips. And so we went up to the cashier and she swooped it across the scanner and the flap opened on the Coke carton and all the beers ran out. And I was a total asshole. I looked at my friend. I was like, Emily? Like it was her fault. And then we both ran to the door. But before that, all of our beers would always be warm and we would chug them in a park. And yeah, warm beer brings back all sorts of memories. Anyway, that was my brilliant way to scam the system.
Nice. Well, yeah. As I said, if you told me your beer story, it would trigger one of mine. So as an adult, see, you have an excuse. You were a child, right?
15,
yeah. So in my 30s, I won tickets. With my business, I got to go see the Final Four in Atlanta, the basketball college, which is a big deal. But they have a dry policy, no alcohol in the college games. And so we didn't think they were going to actually pat us down and check, but they kept doing it. And I was like the guy who has one more gun and TV every time you look. It was like my sock had alcohol, my back pocket, my underwear. Like I put out like 10 little things of booze one by one. And that's as an adult. So there you go.
Listen, you gotta play with the hand that's dealt you. So I think whatever you gotta do. All right.
All cops are bad, including the booze police at the Final Four.
100p, they certainly are, because you gotta have something to drink. What does this say? Rock on. Hopefully you're listening to Led Zeppelin at the time. I don't know which person you're talking to, but yes, I was a big Leadhead and Pink Floyd person. I still love them both. All right. We do not have a wheel today, unfortunately. So sorry. I can only share one screen at a time. So we're just going to jump into it. What do you think we should start with, Pat? What do you think? Does anybody want to proffer or give us a way, a direction? You know what? I think we should listen. Let's start with a shot. Like, let's be honest.
Oh.
All right.
Now
Starting
you're
with the
talking.
shot, right?
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to a smooth show.
It's going to be a smooth show. Ooh, that drink is about as smooth as our show.
Woo. I
Hello.
finally feel so much better. I still have a cough, but I like feel energy wise back to normal, which is never
Excellent.
great, but it's all right, let's just you want to just start at the top? Let's just go down the list.
Sure. What's the list?
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh my God, it's all me. Every
All
part
you.
of this is me. Okay, excellent. Well, it starts sort of with the title of our show, just so you all know what we're referring to. Vote Blue, no matter who, stepped it up several notches this week as Biden, I think, is at the lowest approval rating of any incumbent president. I might have that wrong, but he is really whatever the opposite of crushing it is. So as people are panicked and saying, how can we, I mean, not me, I would never support him anyway, but like, how can I vote for a guy who is wholly endorsing the genocide of Palestinians? This is the vote blue, no matter who response that we get. If there was an election where the only two viable candidates are Hitler and Hitler, but 1% less bad, you are morally obligated to vote for Hitler, but 1% less bad. So we went from settle for Biden in the run up to the election to, hey, he's the most progressive, the next FDR, Dark Brandon, Union Joe, the best climate president ever, to 99% Hitler.
I mean, and if you follow that logic, it doesn't even make sense because it assumes there's no consequence to losing. Like losing has a consequence, which you may not like, but it does move the left somewhere. It does change the political dynamic. It does voice the opinion that the public doesn't support the guy. Like that
Yeah.
alone is a message. Now, obviously, Democrats always take every loss as an opportunity to even go more right, unfortunately. But maybe that opens a pathway for people on the left. But like, when do we take a stand? Like every cycle is not this time.
Yeah. Every single time. Every time. And that's what we've been doing for 40 years. I mean, we've shown montages, so many people have, that this is the most important election. Now's not the time. We have to defeat the people on the other side. And as you said, the only thing that ever does, there's only one outcome. Either Democrats win and they say, you see, we did it without the left, or they lose and they say, it's because of the fucking left. So no matter what, we get blamed. But doing this thing where we vote for the lesser evil has been horrifying. It's moved not the people of our country, but the politicians of our country further and further right. And I don't think we can bear much more of it.
No, we can't allow this system to go on, is the bottom line. I mean, I hate to be I don't want to be what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm struggling. No, but accelerationist,
Right.
accelerationist. But the sooner we realize this system is not working and get the public on board with that, the sooner we have a chance to change things. And with things as bad as they are right now, so blatantly obvious to a lot of people for the first time in a while, it's an opportunity to get at least the Green Party or Cornel West, or it's got people thinking this two-party system doesn't work, and that's what we need. So anyone shaming you to get on board instead of shaming the Democratic Party to get on board with them is the enemy, really. Like,
I agree. And in 2020, there was a big thing of like, listen, the climate can't handle it, right? I think that was what Chomsky, like, he was like, we got to vote for Biden. He'll be so much better for the climate. Not at all. Like, didn't get us back into the Paris Accords, which were sort of toothless. I mean, entirely toothless anyway. Expanded drilling. He's now ignoring 26 federal environmental laws in order to continue building Trump's wall. And so then there was this thing of like, well, you're just operating out of white privilege because think about Black and brown people and gay people. And, at this point now, we know Biden has lost non white support among young people and old or, regular age people. I mean,
Right.
he's
Well,
losing everybody.
but I think that's the biggest area where he's lost support. So the argument that my white privilege for not supporting him,
Right.
I'm not supporting him out of white privilege when most of his supporters leaving are people of color. So I'm more in solidarity with his base than he is.
Exactly. Yeah. It is such a fallacious argument. And, they'll do these, I mean, as we know, like the meme, like, oh, at least these bombs are coming from a woman or from somebody who's
Right.
LGBTQ, but like he is not doing anything materially to help any group of people, but definitely not anybody marginalized here or abroad. So, I mean, that argument has to never resonate with people who have any sort of intellectual honesty, I would think.
I mean, and there are so many things he can do simply via executive order that their argument of blaming Republicans for it or needing a few more Democrats when you don't even try. I mean, the meme of it's not going to work, but we tried nothing.
Yeah.
That
Right.
well, we tried everything and or not. I don't even know
Nothing.
what it is.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so rattled today, but yeah, but there's no argument anymore for blaming Republicans. I mean, he can do a lot of things. I mean, the marijuana expunging people's records for marijuana. That is a simple promise he put on day one that he could do any day he wants to do.
Absolutely. I mean, raising the minimum wage instead of using the parliamentarian as an excuse. Like, obviously, when he wants to do something, he ignores 26 federal environmental laws to do it, or he sends weapons off to Ukraine and Israel without congressional approval, or he does exactly what he wants to do. So that's always just a total, load of BS. But it is interesting, though, more and more establishment people, excuse me, are coming forward. So now Nate Silver, uh, says that he doesn't think that Biden should run. You can complain until I'm putting my glasses on. Sorry, folks. Here I go. You can complain until you're blue in the face, blue in that it's both sides to complain about Biden's age. But number one, a huge percentage of voters disagree. Two, it's a completely rational concern. Three, it's a substantive concern. The political article says it's affecting his performance. The other issue is that, well, the other guy is worse is actually a non sequitur response to the question, why'd you nominate a guy who was 81 years old? At least Republicans can say, sorry, our voters picked Trump. Democrats haven't had a competitive nomination process. I'm pleased that he said that because I know a lot of, like whatever middle Dems like him, but they just turn right away. They start freaking out. Like, I don't know why. I don't like any of the Democrats whom they would choose. So to me, it kind of doesn't really make a difference. But like, I think a lot of like the Rob Reiners or the, Mark Hamills and, they like Pete Buttigieg. They like Gavin Newsom. So like, why are they hanging on so hard?
That's the big question. I mean, it's really because they're told to. They don't put up a fight because it's going to look like our guy is weak if we don't have uniformity across the board supporting him.
Yeah.
Like all hands on deck. This is the most important time of our lifetime. The most election. Blah, the shit we've heard for decades.
Yep.
But what a week. I mean, when there were so many centrist shit lib politician media pundits that I agreed with this week, and that just shows you how bad things are. That we've got Nate Silver calling him out. You got Joanne Reed actually being honest about Israel on the air.
It was crazy.
I mean, I don't know how that got through, but
yeah,
the bottom line is there isn't the only support for Biden is manufactured support and people out of fear thinking they have to just go along. But if you poll the Democratic base, they all want someone else. And you can't make the argument that we have to stop fascism by electing the guy that your own party doesn't fucking want.
I mean, it is such a blatant disregard of any kind of democracy, which, I mean, they've been so clear about it anyway for years. But just to throw that in the and to have something like, you know, if he were slightly more popular, approval ratings were higher, and then they said that, but I mean, he is losing in every single poll to Trump, especially in the swing states.
But what you're seeing is that they're doubling down on hoping that Trump gets arrested. Like
that's it.
And it could happen. He could get convicted on this stuff. But that's not a defense for your guy being good. And it doesn't turn out your voters.
It doesn't. And I'll tell you, you know, if Trump is actually sitting in jail, which I don't think is going to happen, but if he were, I do think obviously there will be people who feel like they can't cast a ballot for him who would have otherwise. But there will also be a group of people who see this as solely a political, you know, using the arm of the law for political reasons, which it is. I mean, yes, Trump should be in jail, but so should Biden, so should George W. Bush, so should Clinton. Like there was lots of Kissinger. Like we let lots of criminals walk around in polite company. So like, and especially for what they're getting him for, again, illegal, gross, disgusting, but I don't know. It just, I think this tactic of theirs really makes them seem like a party that has, I mean, they're just being so honest about that. They have no ideas. They are not running affirmatively on any policy.
Nothing. And you know, you've got even the backup, Gavin Newsom. He's sinking in the polls big time right now, and he pivoted to the right because if he's going to run, he's going to not run on anything left that he ever potentially once stood for.
Yeah.
Newsflash, it was all bullshit. He never stood for any of that stuff anyway. But we're never going to hear, you know, they're going to silence all the actual Democrats from getting any voices out there. You got, what is it, Dean Phillips? Is that the guy's name? I don't even know.
Yeah.
He's running as like a sort of centristy guy. He's getting more attention than Marianne Williamson, who's still running as a Democrat, and she's polling higher than him.
Yeah. He's basically just running as a younger Biden. He's not trying to even, he's like, I agree with everything Biden says. He's just too old. And, you know, even though they do keep saying that age is the only factor or the biggest factor, you know, we've shown those polls. We've seen them where who's more trustworthy? Who do you trust with the economy? Who will do better with foreign policy? So like, I think age is like the cherry on top of a just shit Sunday. And it's the easiest one to identify because it is so jaw-droppingly bad to see this man who is sundowning in real time in front of all of us. But that's not his only issue.
It's not by a long shot. But the thing with the age, it's not the age, it's how he's acting at that age. It's the actual issue of his health behind the age, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And it's also that, look, if you had a leader of the Green Party that was 90 years old and something's going to happen to them and there's another Green replaces them, fine. But like, who's behind the Democratic Party? Who's behind Joe Biden? I mean, it's all the worst people in the world. It's a business, and it's, I don't know. There's no reason for leftists to care about, like, if Biden goes, you got another shitty leftist. I mean, that shitty centrist,
corporate. Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, I mean, honestly, it's kind of exciting, even though I know these people, don't have much of a shot, but like, Jill Stein just got in the race now that Cornel West left the Green Party. So we've got Cornel West, we've got Jill Stein, we've got the Party for Socialist Liberation. I'm going to get it wrong, but like we've got, I mean, I hate him, but Joe Manchin, it looks like he's, you know, he just announced he's not going
no
to
labels.
seek the Senate again. So, I mean, this is what, if each one of these contingents like runs and grows a network and a party, that could be a real democracy. But, you know, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, we got Jill Stein, we got Manchin not running for re-election. Tim Scott, sadly, did drop out.
Oh, we'll miss him.
But here, just to remind you, if the 99% Hitler tweet didn't get you, Rob Reiner, evergreen, a vote for no labels is a vote for Trump. A vote for Bobby Kennedy. Oh yeah, I forgot. RFK Jr. is a vote for Trump. A vote for Cornel West is a vote for Trump. A vote for Jill Stein is a vote for Trump. The only vote not for Trump is a vote for Biden. You know, that math.
And that's how you stop fascism, by saying a vote for any single other party other than our guy who won't debate, who everyone thinks is not mentally fit, who's losing on every issue, who's already losing in 6 or 7 swing states, and they're not coming back. And you know, you got to vote for him because he's the only guy that can beat the guy who might get jailed.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You don't have any options. I'm seeing, so I see Doug says that Cenk Glass, I forgot about Cenk. I mean, like, okay, ballot access in, oh wow, Nevada, New Hampshire, but he's on the Arkansas ballot. Interesting. Claudia Dela Cruz of PSL, that was who I was thinking, has the best messaging, anti-capitalist, yes. Yeah, definitely still a meathead. And Ken, I am seeing, sorry, I'm trying to do all these different things. The chat froze. The chat isn't syncing with host. You guys are 2.5 minutes ahead. I am so sorry, you guys. Something is going on with StreamYard. This is a StreamYard issue. And, you know, we're going to move on, but we did do some research and there don't seem to be other good hosting websites. So I don't know. If anybody has a suggestion, please do let us know. Oh, I forgot about this is the guy who might have my vote. A new entry into the race.
Every presidential candidate except me sucks Zionist cock. That may not sound presidential, but in fact, it's very presidential because I represent the American worker who does not want us to be cocksuckers of Zionism. Donald Trump sucks Zionist cock. Nikki Haley sucks Zionist cock. Vivek the Snake sucks Zionist cock. Chris Christie, Booby fucking Kennedy, Joe Biden, all of these people. The only people that don't suck Zionist cock are the American workers who are being screwed. I'm an American worker. I'm one of us. But Donald Trump is no different than any one of them. They all serve Israel. Bernie Sanders, for example, is an Israeli citizen. Anthony Blinken is an Israeli citizen. The head of the CDC is an Israeli citizen. All of these people are Israeli citizens. All of these people work together against the American working people. There's a lot of liberal Zionists who are out there saying, ceasefire, peace now. I've seen that for 40 years. It doesn't get us anywhere. All that ceasefire does is let Israel pull back, then go bomb the shit out of the Palestinians again. The only way to end this is we must end the occupation. Ending the occupation means beginning with ending the occupation of America by Zionism. Zionists have taken over every seat of power of the United States. If we're going to free Palestine, we must end the occupation of America by Zionism. If there's anyone who should get military aid, it should be the Palestinian people. I'm not talking about Hamas, by the way, all those morons who think Hamas represents the Palestinian people. Hamas was created by Israel. So when you see Hamas, replace it with Israel. We need to build a bottoms-up movement. Go to shivaforpresident.com and volunteer.
Look at that.
I'm just pouring a shot. How many times did that guy say sucking cock? I think he needs a blowjob.
That's quite a presidential campaign there.
I mean, honestly, at this point, if I can't get West or Green over the limit, I'm going to throw in my vote.
Right, Dr. Shiva for the win. Oh,
to Dr. Shiva.
Shot? Hell yeah, to Dr. Shiva. I mean, he's awful, obviously, but I just thought that was hilarious. to not sucking Zionist cock.
Zionist cock.
Okay, I think we've done it for 2024, right?
I mean, there's got to be a circumcision joke we left on the table there somehow.
Oh, buddy, you're right. If
Just
only
think about it.
need my wits around me.
All right, spin that wheel.
Spin that wheel. We landed on
Beep, 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 beep.
COVID. Oh, should I just do the wheel thing? No, I'm just gonna go. You want some graphics in here?
Yeah, get some COVID graphics.
All right. We're gonna pretend that we're pretending. All right. For those who joined late, Pat is without a computer, so he had to dial in from his phone. And I can only share one screen, so we can't forget the "this is fine" part of our show, which was just supposed to be a light, fun thing. It all feels different now without our wheel, without our gimmick. Excuse me. All right, so we're just gonna plow ahead. Here we go. COVID. We're going to COVID. The weekly COVID update. New cases, 160,000. Excuse me. New deaths down to 1,200 a week that we never mention. Never mention. I know the world is falling apart, but this, more and more keeps coming out about right now. They're talking about cognitive issues with Americans. They're in a cognitive fog. Adults in their 20s, 30s, and 40s are driving the trend. Researchers point to long COVID as a major cause. So this shows you the cognitive issues by age year to year. So they started in 2017. It actually is for 15 years, but this graph is just showing for the last 6 years, or comparing to 6 years ago. And you'll see that the 80 and up are all remaining about the same. It's the younger, the 10 to 19, 20, so 10 to, what is that? Almost 50 are all higher now, who are reporting they're having cognitive issues, which shows two things. One is, unfortunately, we have killed off, tens of thousands of our older people. And also, this is really affecting younger people in a way that the crowd that wanted to send all the kids to school so they could get infected to save, the older people, seem never to have to come to terms with what they have done.
And the key reason we're not hearing any of this is because obviously they don't have any solution for it, and it's just going to continue to get worse. We're going to have more and more of a disabled workforce, and people that can't work, obviously. But it should bring, if you told the public this stuff on a regular basis, they would be freaking out. They would be demanding some protections at work. They would be demanding at least, hey, can I check my air at work? Holy shit, our air is terrible. Boss, can you get something in here because everyone's getting disabled? Hey, can we do something about schools can we not rush back into the office when it's unnecessary? They got studies on office work, like businesses that allow people to work from home more are thriving versus businesses forcing people back into work. So it's better for everyone to be safe, and they're losing if your workforce gets sick and has cognitive fog and you got a bunch of people stumbling around work, it's not good for your business. So we need to get back into educating. I think if you can ever get the capitalists on board with seeing the financial benefits to them,
right,
we have a shot at some of this sinking into people.
I know. My paranoid theory is that they know, but they see the end of the world coming, and they don't think it's going to last. They don't think it's going to last long enough that it's going to matter. Because I just don't understand otherwise. Obviously, office real estate is taking a huge dive because of this, right? Because of work from home, because then businesses close, office spaces aren't necessary. I think it's like an $800 billion, bubble that's about to burst. But yeah, I mean, long term, they're talking about percent of working age people who said they had serious difficulty with doing basic errands at home, remembering, concentrating, or making decisions, walking or taking the stairs. And adults in their 20s, 30s, and 40s are driving that trend. I mean, that's, who knows how many infections they've had, but there was a study, and I didn't pull it. I saw it as I was heading over here, but heading over here from the other room. I made it sound like I drove to work. I walked into the other room. But people who got Omicron were 30 times more likely to get infected with the BA variant. And, they don't know if that is a consequence of general immunity being lowered, or if it's combined, or who knows, because people, once they get once, they're just like, I don't know, forget it.
Yeah, behavior changes. Right.
Behavior changes. I mean, we did read that COVID affects a part of your brain, the decision making and the ability to assess threat, and it lowers that. So you might engage in more risky behavior. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons, but that's a pretty striking statistic. 30 times more likely to be reinfected. So all that stuff about like, we all know this, but building your immunity, you don't build immunity, you destroy your body.
Yeah, and the bottom line with all of it is you can't look at COVID as something that we understand now. We still don't know where this goes, what causes it. They know, scientists think inflammation is a key part of it.
Yeah.
But that still they don't have an answer to it yet. They're starting to decode parts of it. And I think that's part of why business and capitalism, and particularly because our business is run, our government is run by the politicians who only have short-term thinking, at most a 4-year election cycle, maybe 6 if you're a senator. But they don't think, what are the consequences of this stuff later for me, for the world? They think, what's the consequence to my election?
Right.
And so they're driven by short-term decisions and short-term risk assessments.
Yeah.
But we don't know where this goes. And without knowing where it goes, you don't give it to kids fucking 3 times a year.
I mean, yeah, I agree, of course, wholeheartedly. What you just wrote, I think that's exactly right. The people who don't care about climate and taking care of people and watching mass devastation across the world, and then don't care about COVID and don't care about whole groups of people that can just be decimated. I mean, there is a real lack of humanity in the ruling class, and it infests every single part. I thought it was interesting, and then we can move on, but the Lancet just did a study, and I can't imagine they were going to allow this to happen in the US. And a study about the UK's handling of COVID, they had a lot of the same issues we did, but also their vaccination was even lower, and they've approved it fewer times and for fewer demographics. So the Lancet just said the level of criminal incompetence exposed by recent witnesses to the UK COVID-19 inquiry has proven that many, if not most, of over 230,000 deaths were preventable. So yeah,
it's crazy, and people always like to point to Sweden because Sweden didn't do lockdowns, and then they did, and then they always bounce around like crazy. But they're now back to recommending the vaccine and booster, which they had stopped doing for most age groups.
That's right. Reversing policy and now recommending that children be vaccinated against COVID. Levels in wastewater are going way up, and they're recommending boosters. So they're no longer going to be able to use that as their the beacon, the shining beacon on the hill of people who just let it rip and everything went fine.
Well, and that's the thing. Every data point or research point that these people talk to that deny and minimize COVID has been debunked across the board. But it's left to linger as a question mark, so the public doesn't say, "Oh, holy shit, maybe I should be taking this seriously." So
yeah, I mean, they never retract the things that were wrong, and then that's not gotten a lot of publicity, right? So they'll still talk about like, oh, the Swedish response, or well, as the Cochrane review said, masks don't work. Like those kind of stay there,
right? And yet you're seeing a lot of studies about. I hear it a lot, and I listen to NPR a lot, but a lot of times you're hearing post-COVID, the phrase post-COVID, when we were in COVID, when we had COVID, and they tie it to economic stuff and, oh, it harmed people. So tell me how your business survived COVID. And it's all past tensing COVID.
Yeah.
And it's strategic. It's not an accident that they do that.
100%. Yeah. Biden came in with a mandate in his mind to end COVID, which some people thought was going to mean get people vaccinated, clean the air, masking, and instead it meant declare COVID over and move on. It was just
and accept 1,000 deaths a week, pretend that there are zero long-term consequences other than dying initially or not, the acute phase.
Yeah.
And the public is just eating it up like crazy.
I mean, there is a real cognitive dissonance. And if you talk about it at all, nobody wants to hear it anymore. Just nobody even talks about it. Like I really feel like I'm pretty much the only person who ever wears a mask in public. But
no, and when you watch allegedly progressive shows and they're ignoring COVID, or they're even like Bree on Rising, Jessica on Rising. Sorry for calling out Rising, but I liked what they did a lot. I like their format. I don't mind them having a Republican on next to them to discuss things.
Right.
But when those people normalize what should be the position of the left, and when they ignore what should be the position of the left, and normalize these centrist views and ignore the science, they're failing us miserably. And I mean, I question why. I'm not going to lie. And I love Bree, but they need to do better.
I totally agree. I feel like she's gotten a little better on some of it. I think they're taking the tack, which I think is completely wrong, of only talking about how COVID hurt small businesses and the working class. Like tell everybody to stay home while rich people or big businesses are like, gobbling up the COVID relief funds, which there was just another expose on how that was, completely abused by the wealthy class, right? They took, billions and billions of dollars. And so I feel like there sometimes for some of the left, not the Jimmy Dore left, but for some of them, it's because it really did hurt small businesses. It absolutely did. But that's not because of the lockdowns, like the lockdowns, whatever we had, but like helped save lives. What hurt the small businesses and the working class was that the government, as usual, just stepped in to save big businesses, the banks, the wealthy, and left everybody, sent the, the frontline workers back in garbage bags, and Tom Brady got like $12 million, so I think when they see that, then it becomes, well, it really was another money grab from the CEO class, but it was that part of it was wrong,
Yeah, I mean, it's accurate. I mean, the problem is you can't use capitalist response to any crisis as a reason that something is right or wrong, because every crisis will be engineered to benefit the capitalists, engineered to benefit who donates to the Democratic Party,
right?
And punitive on the poor. I mean, imagine how small businesses would have done if everybody got $800 a month for a year during COVID.
2000 was what we were all saying. Like that was during the primaries when COVID first happened. That is what even Kamala Harris was pretending that that's what she believed in. Pay people to stay home and close everything down. Because if everybody had done that for a few weeks, it really would have flattened the curve and it would have prevented the spread. And then especially once we got the vaccine, what an enormous loss of opportunity to, first of all, Bill Gates, stick his disgusting ogre hand or thumb on the scale of, the World Health Organization. I think he's one of their biggest contributors, and refuse or convince companies big pharma not to release the patents for the global south. Yeah. So that was one. And then the other thing was get vaccinated and still mask until, a significant portion of society, global society, gets vaccinated. We could have, that would have made an enormous difference.
No, instead we're just sitting around letting this thing mutate, totally new strain every couple months, and we'll just see what happens.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't know what it's going to do to the kids or anybody down the road, and there's a new strain every couple months, and we're doing less and less, and the messaging is that, don't wear a mask, don't wear a mask.
It's just a cold. It's endemic. It's not endemic. Yeah.
So, anyway, we all know this stuff. But
we all know it's just depressing and nobody talks about it because there's so many other horror shows going on. Speaking of, we're just going to, should we do another shot? Like we don't have a wheel, so we should definitely have another shot. I mean, I am drinking my vodka diet tonic anyway, but just to...
I think you should hit them with the timeline cleanse while we pour our drink.
Very smart. All right, let me go all the way down here and see. I don't know your timeline cleanses, so I'm just going to put it on here. Political Star Wars.
Honestly, I just think Palpatine knew all along. And he let it happen just to justify going to Hoth.
Oh, here we go.
No, I'm serious. What? Darth Vader happens to be in a TIE fighter when the whole thing goes down? Please. Come on.
All right.
Now,
Here we go.
I read the engineering, okay? There was no way one X-Wing could have taken this thing out.
Okay.
No way. It had to be a controlled demolition.
Connor, nobody wants to hear this.
You're blind. You are blind, sir. You're blind.
Whatever.
You're all a bunch of drones.
Hey,
Cheers to politics at Thanksgiving.
Amen.
Cheers.
Gonna be fun. I already took my shot in the break. I couldn't wait. Sorry.
Okay. Also, just program note: we will not have a show next Wednesday, but we will be back the following week.
We'll be working on our computers.
What'd you say? Maybe we'll all get new computers.
I'll be buying a new computer, maybe. I don't know.
Mean, wouldn't that
I need to. God damn it.
I know.
All right.
All right. We're moving on to the economy and the strike situation.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see the state of the economy. We've got Moody's downgrading USA from stable to negative, citing higher interest rates and deficits. We've got people. Oh, look at that. It froze for a second. More than 40% of Americans are facing financial hardship. The bankruptcies, something's going on, Pat, with our StreamYard on my end over here. Bankruptcies jump, new bankruptcy cases, year over year change. Look at that. 2020 was down pretty low. Just that infusion of small amounts of money was so helpful. And then inflation, skyrocketed. Thanks so much, CEOs and Jerome Powell. And now bankruptcies are back on the rise. So Joe Biden is no longer talking about Bidenomics. Smart choice. Going with the 99% Hitler is way smarter than touting Bidenomics, apparently.
Unfortunately, that's probably true. I mean, I was watching another show on the Hill, the one that's got all the Republicans on it. But there's like one token Democrat as always, and
Okay.
they all sort of laugh at him, like you're the Democrat, ha, you know,
Right.
not the smartest.
Bleeding heart.
But he fell back on you know, the usual trope of, well, Bidenomics, you know, just don't know how good they got it, you know, kind of
God.
thing. And then, but then he deflected from that because they were saying the same thing, that the Republicans were making the argument about, are you still saying Bidenomics? You know, is that your tact? Is that
Yeah.
your strategy here? And he went right to, well, you know, Trump's going to be in jail and that kind of thing. So their strategy is just to point out the stuff that every Trump voter knows. Everyone in America knows what's going on with Trump. That's not a strategy. That's a prayer that this thing actually keeps him legally from running. That's it.
Yeah. It doesn't help anybody with anything, right? I mean, we have 14% of Americans saying that they're better off than they were, I think, when is it? Just from 3 years ago. 14% feel better. I mean, that is just like a basic, are you going to show up and vote for this guy? Are you better off? Is it better when he's here, or is it better when Trump is here? 14%.
Right. I mean, imagine all the young people disillusioned with everything. Imagine being a person of color, an Arab American, the disappointment you must feel. Like, you can't feel better off if you aren't benefiting already from capitalism. Like, if you made it to the top level, which is, you know, upper middle class,
right?
You might be feeling better because you already bought your house. But if you're short of buying a house, if you don't own your house yet, you are not feeling better off. Like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was just, here's this statistic. To make housing affordable, and if rates stay at 8%, prices stay the same, income levels need to increase by 63%. Not happening. Yeah. So running on the economy is, you know, incredibly foolish. And then to have to trot out like whatever that guy is on the Hill, or the Paul Krugmans or Will Stancil, who are like, what are people talking about? Look at the numbers, you know? And it's like, the unemployment, well, people have 3 jobs and no benefits and live paycheck to paycheck. So, okay, maybe the unemployment numbers are low, but that's not a reflection of the true economy and how people are surviving in the US.
Yeah, and if you just look around at all the strikes, you know, the strikes don't happen because people think things are going great. Strikes happen when major sectors of the workforce feel like they're getting the short shaft of things. And every group, like when I drive to work, yesterday I went by Sac State, which is the community college here, or state college here.
Right.
They're striking now. So there were like 50 people out in the street. I didn't hear about that. And I live in Sacramento because it's so common that there are strikers everywhere. And all these strikers are getting wins from it. And it's because the businesses, they know they've fucked over people for a long time, and they can afford to share some of these profits. And people are suffering, and people are like, you know what, if I lose my job because there's such worker shortage, I'll get another job. It's not like before where, you know, I'll get another shit job is what it means. But
yeah,
you know.
No, you're right. I mean, unfortunately, it's like a sort of silver lining of COVID. I mean, it's horrible to say, but that, you know, the labor market is tight. So there is that ability, and just the unabated greed of, you know, the managerial class, and not wanting to share any part of their profits, and basically really wanting to get rid of workers entirely. I mean, that is truly what they want, which I know we're about to talk about the SAG strike, but like, you know, again, it's that short-sighted thing. Like, okay, you replace everybody with AI. So you're just letting hundreds of millions of people go hungry, homeless. Who is going to buy your products or whatever it is that you're selling. And so then it really is just about, it's like a Ponzi scheme for wealthy people investing in each other's companies. But at some point, it's like a cancer and it eats itself. I mean, there just will not be, you cannot have infinite growth.
Yeah, the government can't keep shifting things to benefit the people at the top when doing so is eliminating their own market, So the way they get out of it is to actually lift workers up. But instead, we've got a government system that's not going to change. It's going to just keep the worse the profits are for those people at the top that are funding these parties the more they're going to have legislation benefiting them more and more punitive on workers. So that's why this system just doesn't fucking work anymore. And so like 99% Hitler isn't going to fly for people.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I just saw somebody in the comments say that I tried a different, we're trying everything new. Everything stinks today, technologically. I'm going to put my earpiece back on because some people said that it's, that I'm a little inaudible and we can't have that. So give me just a second because I think I need to readjust. I guess there's a little bit of an echo when I wear this, but I think it in the end will make me a little louder. So sorry, folks. Yeah. Just a second here.
While you do all that, I'll just stretch out on the couch here.
Yeah, I know. I wish we could play something, but let me just see.
You're doing all the work today. It's beautiful.
All right, let's see if I can do this. Oh, all right. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah. All right. I do hear that like weird tinniness though. Josh, he has to fix my microphone. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know why. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the end of the SAG strike, which was done with such ceremony. There was an announcement that it was over and the board had voted unanimously. And even though the rank and file had not seen a single deal point memo on the new contract, the strike was over as of 12:01 a.m. last Thursday. Go back to work. And it's wonderful. It's exciting. We're going to have a big news conference tomorrow. That was last week. So Fran Drescher and Duncan Crabtree Ireland come out. They do this in, like groups of them. And she talks about her emotionality. And she sometimes couldn't make it there because she was so emotional. She had to just wear a robe at home with her little dog. And thank you so much for just letting me call in. And I'm a Buddhist. It's just like went on and on about her emotional state of affairs. And they took pictures and that was it. So then there started to be some pushback because the AI, which was one of the biggest parts of it, had, according to Justine Bateman, who was their counsel, she was their advisor on AI. She was not part of the negotiating committee, but she put out a statement kind of going through all of the different parts of the AI, the wording on AI that were problematic. So one of them, I'm going to put my glasses on again. The inclusion in the agreement of synthetic performers or AI objects who resemble humans. This gives the studio streamers a green light to use human-looking AI objects instead. So one thing to make an animal or a monster played by AI, but another thing to have a human character instead of a real actor. So she put out, and it went on and on. It was really detailed about the points that she had seen of that. Right away, we get this statement. Fran Drescher urged SAG-AFTRA membership to listen carefully to the details of the Guild's new contract with the studios if you haven't yet been poisoned by contrarians. So that's her response to actors who are concerned about the very existence of an acting career. Then another member of the negotiating committee, Anthony Rapp, he was asked by somebody, are employers allowed to make consent to a digital replica a condition of employment? And he responds, it's complicated. As an actor, there are all sorts of aspects of the gig we consent to as conditions of employment. Speaking the text, wearing costumes, showing up for work. If we said no to any of those things, we wouldn't get the gig. This is like that. So in other words, he is comparing doing your job as an actor to being coerced to sign away digital rights in perpetuity of your, not just your face, but also your expressions, your mannerisms, because they'll likely change your face just enough, unless you're, a wildly famous person. But even those, they will feed you into, the blob, and then using your likeness, your mannerisms, your vocal tone, your responses, whatever, they will be able to use that. So in the language is, hey, this is what Fran Drescher was saying was, listen, you get to say no if you don't want it. Well, there's 160,000 actors, 87% of whom are below the poverty line. So even if you have the ability to say no, there's going to be hundreds, thousands of people right behind you who will probably say yes, because we're all so desperate just to make, so that's not a protection.
And
all.
And the point is the union's supposed to fight for you so you don't have to make these fights for yourself.
Yeah.
And this is just putting it on the actors and other people to have a war with somebody that can give you your job. It's like saying, oh, well, we're going to remove the 40-hour work law, but, go tell you have the right to not take that job.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay, but that's why we put that in there, because they're going to force this on people unless there's some regulation.
Yes, that's the whole point. And, she did the same thing with COVID. So at the beginning, when actors and shows were allowed to go back, there were really, really amazing, strict protocols. There was masking of everybody but the people who were on camera, daily testing with PCR testing. I mean, it was really locked down. It was fantastic. Right. She was like, hey, isn't that great? We're taking away all this. But, and there was language in there, if you want people to mask or want people to test, you can speak up. Well, come on. You can do that if you are an enormous star and that's basically your set. Random actors can't be like, hey, I want the person I'm, and then also like nobody's masked. So it's not even just like the one person you're in a small quarters with, so yeah, she did the same thing. Hey, it's up to you. You have your decision-making skills, but that's just not the way it works. And as you said, that's exactly what the union is supposed to do, so that you don't have to be the individual speaking up to the management. It's the whole point of a union.
Yep.
So, and then this guy chimes in, Jason Winston George, if a producer wants to pay me my negotiated rate to stay home, or better yet, to work another job while they use my AI digital replica in the background of a reshoot, by all means, I'll take the check while I'm with my family, or I'll double dip and get checks for 2 projects at once. Which is such a lovely, selfish thought, because if they're using digital actors, there goes hair, makeup, gaffers, anybody dealing with lighting, the craft service, like that's hundreds of jobs while he gets to double dip. It's such a self-centered, ego-driven, not solidarity way of being. Yeah. It
comes down to what we were saying too, that's a part of this discussion, I hope, is that, okay, if you renegotiate AI in 3 years, that's 3 years of unregulated use of your AIs. So that's all they need. Like exactly. They can run with that, and that is going to permanently eliminate a crap ton of jobs.
100%. And we'll never get that back, ever. And
well, I just wanted to give you an example, not related to acting at all, but like I went through the drive-thru the other day at work. My boss wanted to. I didn't even eat, but it was the first automated menu where you're speaking to an AI and it placed your order, and it was all fucked up. But assuming they fix that, do you know how thin the margin of employees are at these places?
Yeah.
Fast food restaurants have like 3 people working a lot of times. Sometimes it's only 2.
Yeah.
And now you're eliminating one more job. So this is a company charging like $12 for a shitty processed hamburger nowadays.
Yep.
Getting away with it. They all jacked their rates up during COVID. And now you're eliminating one more job. And so we have to fight on this stuff because you wouldn't have to fight if you had a society where people could still get other jobs and make a decent wage and survive. But like, there's no option for people, it's just shit jobs. And you're eliminating the lowest tier workers with a lot of these AI jobs.
100%. And, it is just such a good reminder that the studios are really not interested in the craft or in making movies. It is really just assembling. It's like marketing and assembling. How do we sell the how do we sell the poster? How do we sell the toys, the franchise stuff, the Happy Meals or whatever? It has nothing to do, at a certain point, they won't be able to feed anything else in. And, I'm sure there will be an independent crop of studios that pop up, but we have to fight this now. And it was, so it always feels like a microcosm of the Democratic Party where, as I was voicing my concern, there were all these actresses responding to me on Facebook, well, we were never going to get everything. The AI ship has already sailed, at least we got higher, bumps for day workers or something, which I think for background actors, extras, I think it was like $12 a day, which, by the time you're done taking all the taxes out and everything, like they struck for 116 days for $12. Like that doesn't really feel great. So
that doesn't keep up with the inflation cost of that hamburger I was buying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. They are already saying that the writer's assistants have completely lost hope for a post-strike career advancement because, as we knew what would happen is the studios decide how much money they're going to make. That's what they go in with. So even if it feels like they're making a concession or giving a bump in salary, what they're going to do is make fewer shows, have fewer actors on the show, make fewer episodes of it. They will never take away from their bottom line. They've got that going in. So one way or the other, you're still going to get screwed.
Yeah. So, what do you think the outcome of this is going to be? Does it look like people are going to pass it or?
I don't know. I know Twitter isn't real life and all that, but I am seeing more and more people saying they're going to vote no on this. I don't know. What was the other thing? Oh, so this was the next thing that Fran Drescher said. She decries low-level critics of the SAG-AFTRA deal. And get this, the full contract may not even be available before the ratification vote finishes. But chop, unity, get in line.
No. Hell no.
Vote. Yeah. And, they're already, this is in the works. There is an Edith Piaf AI-generated biopic in the works at Warner Music. This lovely fella, Jeffrey Katzenberg, says AI will cut the cost of animated films by 90%. In the good old days, you might need 500 artists and years to make a world-class animated movie. I don't think it'll take 10% of that 3 years from now. So there you go. They're just flat out saying it. Bye. Yeah. This I thought was funny, and then we'll move on to Israel. But this is from India. It was a Mashable. It was their take on Friends.
No one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke, you broke, your love life the way. It's like you're always stuck in second gear. When it hasn't been your day, week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you. When the rain starts to fall, I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you. 'Cause you're there for me too. tell you when the road's rough, down to your knees, and I'll be there for you. When the rain starts to fall, I'll be there for you. Like I've been there before, I'll be there for you. 'Cause you're there for me too.
I mean, that's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways you can go with this that are not going to be good for people. It's just disgusting. I mean,
Yeah.
you could use, that's technology. Technology can go in a good way, but you need to regulate it. You need to look out for people. And,
Exactly.
our government's not doing that. And when your own union isn't, that's really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. She's awful. She's just awful. Anyway, all right, let's move on. We're moving on to Israel.
I keep grabbing my ghost mouse to try to click something.
I know. It must feel so strange. Normally we share the buttons, and now you're having to just let go. All right. Which
timeline cleanse, obviously.
Oh my God! Thank goodness. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna do the Kevin Hart one. I don't know. I haven't seen any of yours.
All right.
I
was watching Biden, and there's a clip of Biden. What Biden says, and this is, I probably watched this clip. I'm not into politics at all, but Biden goes, I got something important I want to say, and the whole world needs to hear it. I need everybody to listen right now. And he takes a beat. He goes, forget it. President of the United States.
Man, I mean, I don't know if that cleansed me, but that's really true. It is so insane. I mean, he did that all through the primaries too. Remember, like at the debates, he'd be like, never mind. You go ahead. He couldn't even get a sentence out.
I mean, I do that on the show sometime, but I should not be president.
Oh, look at me getting a call. What the? I don't know. Yeah, what a show. What a show. Sorry, in the middle of the show. Yeah, I know. Me too. Like, he still seems to have a better grasp of material than I do, but I'm not the president of the United States or the leader of the free world. Oh my goodness. All right, let's move on to the free world. Lol. I think we should just start with the very clear indication of what Israel is up to in their own words. Here we go. It's horrific. See you in two and a half minutes.
זכור את אשר עשה לך עמלק, נצטווינו. אנו זוכרים ואנו נלחמים.
It's an entire nation out there that is responsible. It's not true. This rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved, it's absolutely not true.
אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם.
Very puzzled by the constant concern which the world is showing for the Palestinian people and is actually showing for these horrible, inhuman animals who have done the worst atrocities that this century has seen.
עזה לא תחזור להיות מה שהייתה וחמאס לא יהיה. חסל את הכל.
مع هيك وحوش بشرية رايحين نتعامل كيف لازم. إسرائيل فرضت إغلاق كامل على غزة.
هناك إسرائيليون يعني وصفوا الفلسطينيين في غزة وصفوهم بأنهم حيوانات بل أقل من حيوانات.
أنا لا أسويهم بالحيوانات لأن هذا تحقير للحيوانات.
هذا رأيك دكتور مردخاي؟
نعم هذا رأيي.
תכסחו אותם כמה שיותר, שלא להשאיר מהם זכר. שלא הם, לא אמא שלהם, לא הילדה שלהם, לא התינוקות שלהם. אסור להם לחיות לחיות האלה. יש לך שכן ערבי, אתה לא תחכה שהוא יבוא אליך הביתה. תיכנס אליו הביתה ותירם.
תראה, לצורך ה...
לא, אתה חושב שאנחנו יכולים להרוג מאות אלפי פלסטינים ברצועת עזה, והדבר הזה יעבור?
תראה, עכשיו בתקשורת הזרה יוצאת הודעה בשם ישראל שמיליון פלסטינים כבר ירדו מדרום הרצועה דרומה, וכל מי שנשאר שם נחשב כמחבל.
תשמיד את עזה עכשיו! עכשיו! עזה הופכת לדרזדן, כן!
הארץ שלנו! כל הארץ! כולל עזה! כולל הלבנון! כל הארץ המובטחת!
So for the people who, talk about it's a genocide and they are shut down or told they are being anti-Semitic, it's pretty clear in their own words that the Israeli government is hell-bent on getting rid of all Palestinians.
Yeah, and it's not like, you could go make a documentary like that little clip on the US and find some MAGA people and they would say some crazy things that the world would look at and go, oh, okay, somebody tailored this video in that way. These are government officials on the highest order, and none of these people have lost their jobs. They're not being admonished. This is the policy of
and they're actually doing the action. Like, they're not just talking about it. They are slaughtering 20,000 people so far. Children, women, men.
Yeah,
hospitals, school. I mean, it's like,
it's not a PR thing on the part of Palestinians. It is the point. It's very real. It's obvious. These guys are the bad guys, and they are trying to eliminate Palestinians and wipe Gaza from the map so they can have the entire land there to themselves. And it's evil.
It is truly evil. We're just going to run down a couple of the horrors. This chart is really stunning. Child deaths in conflict zones. 136 children are killed per day in Gaza. Compare that with Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen, Ukraine, Iraq. So, this is a war on children, on a whole generation that is wiped out.
It's a war on children, but it's a war on the people because they're eliminating the children. They killed more children than they have men in war, more children than women. They've started bombing schools. They bombed hospitals. They're eliminating any chance of having even the shitty existence they had before all this, if you're a Palestinian.
Yep. Yeah, the WHO just said it's confirmed more than 250 attacks on Gaza and West Bank, which, by the way, is not where Hamas is. So there goes that. But anyway, healthcare facilities have been verified. And, for all the talk, Israel's like, it was our 9/11. It was like, what did they say? 4 9/11s on October 7th. So now the count has gone. I mean, it's horrible. Anybody being killed is horrible. I always just want everybody to know that. But that it went from 1,400 people to now 1,200 verified deaths. And when you do the numbers, which, anyway, Gaza has been subjected by Israel to the equivalent of 455 9/11 attacks in just over a month, based on the official civilian death toll in Gaza of 11,000 people out of a population of 2.3 million. And
so I just want to pause on that for a second. So imagine a 9/11 every day in this country. Imagine that. Now imagine like, I don't know, what is that, about 15 9/11s every day that Gaza's gone through? Like, you can't, the idea of any sort of equivalency to this response, you can't justify it at all. But if you're going to justify a response, it's you got a day of it or something. But like,
well, and also you try to root out Hamas, which they're not. They're just indiscriminately bombing hospitals, where the shelters, refugee camps, schools, places where they told people this will be a safe haven for you. So they're not even pretending anymore, actually, at all, that they're trying to be careful. I think, and I know we're sort of like, they're saying hostages and civilian casualties will be secondary to destroying Hamas, even if it takes a year. But I think the last count, there was like 15 or 16 members of Hamas they said they had gotten. And the count now is at 20,000 Palestinians. And that's according to Israel. 20,000. So they're not even attempting at all. They're equating everybody with Hamas.
I mean, that's the whole point. And, I guess we're going to get to the rally, but the level of dehumanization they have for Palestinians, and for all these leaders in the U.S. to come out and support Israel and have a rally to do it in the face of all this clear evil, it's waking a lot of people up. But I mean, what happens here isn't as important really in this situation as what happens there.
Right, because the people in power are clearly not listening to a majority of this country, right? So we know that most voters want a ceasefire, but the people in power are almost uniformly on the side of Israel. I think only Rashida Tlaib and, maybe Ilhan Omar have called for ceasefires, like said those words. Nobody else. And now this is the new thing. Dem staffers are being told to let the constant calls for a ceasefire just to go to voicemail. So they know.
That's what a democracy we have right here,
Yeah.
And I mean, to bring this back to why it matters, we're back to electoral politics here, but why this issue matters is our support is the only reason they're allowed to continue this genocide. Like, singularly, 100%. If we did an about face on our position on Israel, their actions would change overnight.
100%. If we didn't give them weapons and money, they would not be able to do any of this. The rest of the world doesn't, the rest of the world is condemning them. I mean, this is about settlements, which is even less, it's horrifically violent, but the United Nations just voted 145-7 in favor of a resolution condemning illegal Israeli settlements. And they're, Israel, US, Canada, Hungary, man, not even Ukraine. Anyway, so, all right. So you want to talk about this pro-Israel rally, or which way do you want to go with all this? Because there's just so many different avenues.
Well, I mean, let's just hit the rally real quick. I mean, there's the show that picture of all the holding arms and whatnot. I mean, it was a love fest for Israel. Obviously, people know that they propped up how many members were there. Allegedly.
Look at this. This is like Trump, the biggest crowd ever. They say that was 290,000. That is not 290,000 people at the pro-Israel rally, right? No way.
Yeah, and if you're on the right side of this issue, you don't need to lie about everything left and right. And it's just so obvious that they're lying about this stuff.
Do you have to pay people to come to your rally?
I
Israel on
probably
Campus
would.
Coalition is offering $250 for college students to attend the pro-Israel rally. Just think if they found out that was happening, like if Egypt or Jordan were paying people to go to a pro-Palestinian or ceasefire rally. All right, yeah. So here are Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and the new Speaker of the House, Johnson. What's his name? Mike Johnson? I can't remember his name.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. I think I have it in the next one. What is this? Yeah, Mike, look at me. Look at me. Yeah, the calls for a ceasefire are outrageous, he says, and the crowd starts chanting, no ceasefire. Like, in what other war? I mean, do people not even want to try for peace at all? Like, there is a rabid bloodlust going on.
A war rally is what that is.
Yeah.
It's a rally for war. And it's because the people there aren't there on the side of justice. They're on the side of all the Israeli talking points we've heard forever.
Yeah.
You got, I mean, the ADL for fuck's sake, which used to be, yeah, I understand that they've been shitty over time on certain issues, but the Anti-Defamation League, exists to protect anti-Semitism, to point out anti-Semitism where it happens. But they're calling for colleges, the Department of Education, the FBI, the IRS to investigate pro-Palestinian student groups. So on colleges, they want to investigate these groups.
That's right. And a lot of those groups are like student
Jewish
voices for peace. Yeah. So those are anti-Semites. That's what the ADL is accusing any pro-Palestinian marches or pro-peace marches being anti-Semitic. I think George Washington University, Columbia, my alma mater, George Washington University, did I start with that? Brandeis, they are banning students, Jewish students for peace groups and pro-Palestinian. But like saying that the student voices for peace are anti-Semitic and arresting them, hauling them off to jail at Brandeis.
It's insane and it's extremely dangerous. I mean, we've got the ADLs now saying that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And so they're putting out their own data to suggest that anti-Semitism is dramatically on the rise. And it may be. I don't, possibly. But is it on the rise relative to anti-Arab sentiment?
Right.
Anti-Muslim sentiment? When the government is fueling all that stuff? I don't know. We've seen actual real crimes. We've seen deaths. We've seen targeted attacks on Muslims over the years. We got the right calling for Muslim bans again. Trump back on his shit. And you've got the left and the right holding hands up in arms for a no ceasefire.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and I mean, of course, there is anti-Semitism. Of course there is. There's shootings and, bomb threats. And there was the Tree of Life synagogue. But included half of the instances of anti-Semitism that the ADL report included were pro-Palestinian ceasefire marches. So
right. And I'm sorry, that's where I was going with that.
Sorry.
Is that they're using but they're using false data essentially. They're changing how they're reporting incidents because that's just false. Most Zionists are not anti-Semitic. The contrary, because by their own rules, they're labeling a ton of Jewish people anti-Semitic, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah. In Israel, they're arresting Jewish people who are protesting for peace. They're arresting families of hostages. Okay, this really at that rally, one of the speakers was, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, John Hagee, who suggested the Holocaust was God's punishment against disobedient Jews and has said that the Antichrist will be partially Jewish, as was Adolf Hitler. He was one of the speakers at yesterday's March for Israel. So,
I mean, the Arab world is going to see this as a religious war. I mean, you've got the U.S. allying with Israel. You've got all this anti-Arab sentiment. They're kicking the Arabs out. And you've got all the Israeli leaders doubling down on this being a holy war.
Yeah.
And you've got sentiment in Israel that this is over God-given rights to land and that Palestinians are not equal people.
Yeah.
So this does not end well for anybody. This is not making a single soul in the world a drop safer.
No, it's just horrifying. One more bit of the Nazi apologia was, I just can't believe this is happening. This is from Douglas Murray. Why must Jews watch their backs as London mobs cheer? So they're talking about, this is from the pro-Palestinian march rally last week. This is what he says to say why Hamas is worse than Nazis, because average members of the SS and other killing units of Hitler's were rarely proud of their average day's work. Very few felt that shooting Jews in the back of the head all day and kicking their bodies into pits was where their own lives had meant to end up. Many spent their evenings getting blind drunk to try to forget. Nazi commanders had to worry about staff morale. When the war ended, the Nazis tried to pretend that Treblinka and other death camps never existed. He's saying they shot them in the back of the head, but Hamas shoots them in the front. I mean, not like if you go into the article. So just the trajectory over the last few years of Trump is literally Hitler. Putin is worse than Hitler because at least Hitler didn't use chemical weapons on his own people and did not kill ethnic Germans. That was Michael McFaul. Then we have neo-Nazis with, swastikas all over them getting standing ovations in Congress and making, the talk show tour. And now in Ukraine. And now we've got that Hamas is literally worse than the SS. So these are pro-Zionist people who are engaging in Holocaust denialism.
And the thing is, the hypocrisy of the U.S., even if people in the U.S. don't recognize that en masse, the world does. I mean, they look at the U.S. has brought the world into this fight with Ukraine, and you got Russians as Nazis part two for bombing, killing innocent people in Ukraine, which I would agree with they're doing. But you can't apply that same standard to Israel when it's tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold of what Russia is doing. Yeah. I mean, where's that? Do you have that clip of Blinken?
Yeah. Let's see. Just to remind everybody of the hypocrisy.
But all across the State Department, you've got people representing Biden faced with questions on a daily basis and skirting them all. But the similarities, the hypocrisy between our stance on Russia and on our stance on Israel is just ridiculous.
We can never let the crimes Russia's committing become our new normal. Bucha is not normal. Mariupol is not normal. Irpin is not normal. Bombing schools and hospitals and apartment buildings to rubble is not normal.
Sorry, I cut you off. Yeah.
No, but he's so sad and he's so right, that it's not normal. But then we're talking 1,000 times the level of Russia against Ukraine
Absolutely.
in a small window, and evidence of it everywhere. Like, this is not some vague thing that we don't know, and maybe Palestinians are propagandizing us.
Right.
We know what's happening. This is clear.
Right. And also, it's all good.
Well, no, but there's no response to it. There's nothing, we're public pressure is changing our public position on it a little bit, but it's not changing our actions. It's just changing the U.S.'s strategy for how they're going to support Israel.
Exactly.
They're going to let Israel get away with whatever they want at this point, as long as they have some sort of "we told you not to" kind of protection, which is the new phase we're in.
Right. Although there was something recently where they are violating Geneva Conventions, which is why they keep saying this thing of like Israel has a right to protect itself, because if the U.S. is aiding and abetting a genocide, which is what's happening, they, in some sort of international criminal court, they can be held liable. So they have to just keep using language and hope that the language gets them out of it. William Shabazz, the world's leading legal expert on genocide, wrote in his declaration in the case, I conclude that there is a serious risk of genocide committed against the Palestinian population of Gaza, and that the United States of America is in breach of its obligation under both the 1948 Genocide Convention, to which it is a party, as well as customary international law, to use its position of influence with the government of Israel and to take the best measures within its power to prevent the crimes taking place. And instead, we are just sending them, why can't I get rid of this? Oh my God. I just froze.
No, are you frozen? I hear you. You're just gonna leave it?
Cannot believe it.
All right, I'll entertain people while you're gone.
I can't even punch a timeline thing.
Wait a minute. If you leave, does it kill our feed, or am I still on the show?
Oh my God. Pat?
This is gonna be fun. If we're gone, we'll see you we'll see you in 2 weeks. But if I'm here still, I'm gonna hold the fort.
It's gonna quit you out.
If
everyone can hold on for like a minute, but I don't know how that's gonna work. I am so sorry. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Damn it.
Look, if you can see on the screen, there's my little strike on the corner. There's some entertainment. Huh? Wait, am I still here? It says I'm in the show still, but I can't change the screen, so it's just me. All right. Well, Lila's going to be back here. She doesn't take too long usually. I wish I could push play on a video or entertain you with some cat shit, but I can't. So there you go. Oh, I can visit the chat. Let me see if that works. Struck behind. Oh, sing a song. If I knew The River to the Sea, I would sing that, which would probably get us kicked off of YouTube forever. But can't do that. Oh, join the chat. I have to hit join the chat? No, it's not going to work. The wallpaper is showing how it looks outside with the clocks moved back. Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't know what you guys are seeing. I'm seeing a tweet from Professor Zenkus. He was a good guy. He's pretty smart. I've known him on Twitter for, I don't know. Oh, thank God.
I am back. I'm back, bitches. All right, wait a second. Oh my God.
I struggled to entertain people because I couldn't even put the cat on camera. That's like my failsafe here.
I am so sorry. I don't know why that happened. I'm so thrilled though that it didn't all disappear. Geez, this is crazy. Why does this keep happening? Okay, what I did want to get to, wait, what were we on? Oh, okay. This thing of, and you hear it every time anybody who talks about a ceasefire or is pro-Palestinian or, you know, do you condemn Hamas?
Oh,
so
God.
The latest incident of that was Jeremy Corbyn, who, you know, the Labour Party completely slandered as an anti-Semite because they were so worried that a socialist might win because he was wildly popular, just like Bernie, who they also sort of tried to say was an anti-Semite. So he was on with Piers Morgan, and where is it? Whatever. Okay. And Piers Morgan would not let up. It was so horrific. This is how it went down.
Can we have a discussion?
Can you call them a terror group? Jeremy?
Can we have a discussion?
Can you call them a terror group?
Is it possible to have a rational discussion?
Are you prepared to call Hamas a terror group?
Is it possible to have a rational discussion with you? Is it possible? Come on, answer that question.
You can't, can you?
You answer it.
No, it's my show. You answer my question.
Well,
are Hamas a terror group?
Listen, can I...
Are they a terror group?
Piers, can I speak?
Answer the question.
Can I speak?
Are they a terror group?
Piers.
No, then, no.
If you let me speak...
Are they a terror group?
If you'll let me speak, I'll say something.
Go on, then.
A ceasefire means both sides...
You said that. Are they a terror group?
Listen, I said that because
are they a terror group?
Part of the process.
Are they a terror group?
Can we go...
Why can't you say it?
Piers, can we go through what ought to be happening?
Just answer my question.
Why do you think
are Hamas a terror group
in the world are calling for a ceasefire?
Are Hamas a terror group?
Come on, answer that. Give it to me.
No, it's not your show.
You've got so many opinions.
Why should I answer yours when you won't answer mine?
Why do you give out your opinions all day and every day?
Are Hamas?
You don't like it
are
when
Hamas a terror? Are Hamas a terror group? Yes or no?
You won't like it when somebody pushes back on you. What I've said is,
I've asked you two questions: should Hamas stay in power, and are they a terror group? You're refusing to answer either of them. That is very telling. And you wonder,
it's not very telling
and you wonder why
not,
people think you had a problem with Jewish people.
At all.
Right?
What is very telling is your inability to keep quiet for 30 seconds to allow anybody to answer a question.
On my show, I ask people questions.
You shout at people.
Normally, they answer them.
You shout at people.
No, only when they won't answer the question.
No, you shout at people all the time.
You've deliberately not answered my question.
Piers, I've explained to you how to get rid of Hamas.
Are they a terror group, Len?
Of course. The
Thank you. Why can't you say that?
Hang on.
You've answered it.
Did you hear that little weasel on the other side say, I've explained to you how to get rid of mice?
Is that what he said there?
Yeah, I mean, that's how Nazis talk.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
So, you know, there are so many good responses, but this one from Yanis Varoufakis, I think, really sums it up well. So we're just going to play a couple minutes because I think this is the way to respond to somebody who says, do you condemn Hamas?
Those who try very hard to extract from people like me, from DiEM25, a condemnation of the attack by the Hamas guerrillas will never get it. And they will never get it for a very simple reason. Those who care about humans without any discrimination, those who care equally about a Jew and an Arab, must ask themselves a very simple question. What exactly is their idea of the cessation of hostilities? That Palestinians are going to lay down their arms and go back into the largest open-air prison in the world, where they are constantly suffocated by the apartheid state? In other words, back in South Africa, in the era of apartheid, what was the problem? Was it that some members of the black resistance, including the ANC, but not only the ANC, took up arms against the South African regime and sometimes killed innocent people? Was that the problem with apartheid? No, the problem was apartheid. Apartheid, whether it's practiced in South Africa or in Palestine or Israel, is always going to procure violence because it's a violent, misanthropic system. Any human being living under apartheid at some point will either die a terrible silent death or rebel and often take innocent people with them.
I mean,
I think what a lot of people didn't realize about the situation there is that they've been living under brutal apartheid status for a decade.
More, sorry, but I mean,
more, but
17 years in that pen of Gaza.
Right. And during that time, Israel, even on a calorie count, determines how much food gets into the people. And it's just enough food to keep them alive. They have dual laws for Israeli citizens versus Palestinian citizens. They have checkpoints everywhere they go, to where they're just fucked with by Israelis.
Yep.
If you need a cancer treatment, the people in Palestine die of cancer at 4 times the rate of normal people, because they're not allowed to leave. You have to apply for a permission to leave to see a specialist.
Yep.
They are not like people in our jails get treated better than Palestinians.
I mean, you know, I don't want to go down that road because that's also, you know, horrific, but they certainly have no rights. There are 10,000 Palestinians in Israeli jails right now. 4,000 of them were taken since October 7th, and they can be there indefinitely with no charges. So to me, like, those are all hostages. But the truth is, the 2.3 million people, I mean, there's so many fewer of them now, but who aren't allowed out, those are hostages also, you know? So like, when you talk about, does Israel have a right to defend itself? I don't know. Do Palestinians have a right to defend themselves?
Yeah. Do you condemn Israel?
I mean, that really should be the response, you know? And just because I feel like, you know, do you mind if I play the Norman Finkelstein bit?
Oh, I love him. No,
All right.
play.
I was going to play this because, you know, Norman.
Hamas has to be dismantled because of what it did on October 7th. Then if you take Operation Cast Lead, Operation Pillar of Defense, Operation Protective Edge, then the Israeli government has to be dismantled 10 times over.
I follow you, but it's not really an answer to the question.
Oh, it is an answer to the question.
Because
it's called keeping a single standard.
No, it's
You want to
No,
talk about the 290 Israeli hostages? I say fine. But then let's talk about the 2,300,000 Gazans. Hold everyone to a single standard. Number 2.
Should both governments? What do you mean Israeli? What do you mean by dismantling the Israeli government?
If you want to decide that Hamas has to be dismantled because of what it did on October 7th, I say fine. But then the Israeli government has to also be dismantled because for 20 years, it's kept a whole population confined in a concentration camp.
I don't understand.
And periodically,
I get you.
And periodically mows the lawn.
Okay,
it mows the lawn.
Yeah. So, you know, the other thing that, and I know it's getting late and I don't want to push our technology too far. One other thing that I thought was really macabre was, and I'm going to try and find it, and now I don't know, we've had so many issues with our system here. I think it's gone. I can't believe it. But one of the young women, geez, look at that. Darn it. One of the young women who was killed at the rave that day, and she's this young, beautiful blonde woman that they try, often to show, because I think, Israelis feel like that will, give sympathy. Look at me. I'm still trying to find it. There, I just found it. This woman, I'm going to put her up right now. Watch it. Tell me that I've run out of space and then it will all go. But just so everybody knows who I'm talking about. This woman, Alina Falahati, was one of the victims of the Nova Festival massacre. She was literally buried outside the cemetery wall because like 30% plus of the Russian-speaking Israelis, she wasn't considered fully Jewish. She was in the process of full conversion, but she hadn't graduated yet. So one of the women whose images they've used to, galvanize sympathy across the world, they wouldn't even bury her in a Jewish cemetery. It's just appalling.
It's ethnic cleansing. When you've got a policy of 70% of your country has to be your people, well, how do you maintain that 70%? And why would you have that standard anyway?
I mean, that, the only like slight thing that I will concede to it's complicated, because I don't think it's complicated. It's a genocide. The part that becomes complicated is, just like people will say, why don't the other Arab nations take in the Palestinians? Why wouldn't they do that? Well, I don't know. Why didn't the US or the UK or any European countries take in the Jews? Like, is that really a reason to, to genocide a people? So, but the truth is, nobody would take Jews in. And it was in the works before, of course, the state of Israel and Zionism. It wasn't, and in fact, there are Zionists. I mean, we'll have to do an episode just on this at some point. Zionists who were upset about the Jews that were saved and did get into Europe, into the US, because it took away from the necessity of Israel.
Right.
So the more Jews were persecuted, the more the need was for a state of Israel where Jews would always be welcome. So that to me is the only. And by the way, I mean, Palestinians shouldn't pay for the sins of Europe and the US. I'm not saying that at all, but, that is the only part, is that obviously there is millennia of persecution. I mean, of so many different groups, not just, but so that is why it became that. But you cannot have an ethno state and call it a democracy. There's just no way.
But to look at the similarities between what Jewish people went through, and then to see Israel telling Palestinians they have to go live somewhere else.
Yeah.
It should be the most obvious thing for people, but it's an emotional thing. People are attached to their argument and they stay in their corners. But step aside from the propaganda, and the world sees it. Everybody sees it. We're the bad guys. Israel's the bad guys. We need to do what we can to get our government to stop. If that means our first step is getting media attention and the media involved, that's how you hit the mainstream public, and that's what we need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And the protest, there was a protest today, and I was hoping to go Jewish Voices for Peace. And I mean, this is not really an excuse, but we're leaving tomorrow. My plumbing exploded. I had people here and we were getting ready for the show, and it was raining. So, for me, but I am so curious to see what the turnout was today. But the protests, the rallies, I think are waking people up. I mean, it's not soon enough for tens of thousands of people, but that's where the hope lies, is taking it to the street. I think we're probably going to go out on that, on all the different protests, right? Is that what we're thinking as we end?
Yeah, I think 2 hours of our tech problems is probably enough.
You all are amazing. Thank you so much for bearing with us. I so appreciate it. We will miss you all next week. Happy Native American Day, Thanksgiving. I don't even know what to say anymore, but if you eat turkey or all the good sides, or get together with your family, or don't, enjoy, keep punching up, and we love you guys.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.